Hello, my name is Linda McAnany and welcome to my show. My guest today is not only a friend, but more importantly, she's a veterinarian at the Westside Veterinarian Clinic here in Jefferson City. Dr. Jill Brady.
Hi.
Jill, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I always like to have you in because I learn so much whenever you're here. You know, one of the things that we talked about a few weeks ago was the fact that a friend of mine is in a decision-making process with regards to getting a pet. And I learned all kinds of things from you because I didn't realize how much you need to think about how that very important animal fits into your family, because they almost become a family member.
Right.
So what are some of the things that one should consider prior to making a decision?
Sure. What I always recommend is to look at what kind of a lifestyle you have. Where do you live? How active are you? How big is your family? For instance, if you live in a small apartment, perhaps a Great Dane is not the best option for you.
Good point.
You know, maybe think about something smaller. Or if you live a very active lifestyle, you spend a lot of time outside, you like to be active doing outdoor ththings, then sometimes a more active breed is a good pet for you to have. And sometimes you just look at what you like to do and where you live and all of that, and you decide maybe a cat is the best option for you. Maybe you travel a lot or things like that. So a lot of the different things come into play when you're looking for a pet. And there are some really good resources online for people who are trying to decide between different breeds. The AKC has a great website it's akc.org. And you can go on there and look up different breeds, and it will tell you breed standards such as how much they're going to weigh, how big they're going to get, but also gives you good information about health and activity levels. It also has care tips and things like that. So it's a really good resource if you're trying to decide if a certain breed that you've seen maybe on TV or something is a good breed for you. So.
Well, you know, it's interesting because you mentioned having a cat. I learned, we've never had a cat, but I learned that cats are much more independent, being able to almost take care of themselves. And I know that's not true, but certainly than a dog is, as an example. And so just that very fact sometimes makes us think, uh-oh, you know, what is my lifestyle? And what am I looking for when this small being, becomes a part of our life?
Right, right. Well, again, say for instance you think, oh, Border Collies are beautiful and they're wonderful. They're very good working dogs. They're very intelligent. So if you have a lifestyle where you travel a lot or you come home and you just want to eat and sit on the couch, that's probably not the best breed for you because they're going to get bored and they're not going to get enough exercise, and it just wouldn't be a good fit. Unfortunately, a lot of purebreds tend to end up in the shelter because maybe a little advanced research wasn't done before getting that pet, and it just isn't a good fit and not a good situation. So a little advanced work really does go a long way to determining what kind of a pet you would like to own.
And you mentioned the akc.org. They will not only tell you about an animal, but the traits as well.
Yes, they'll give you behavioral characteristics, and again, good information like you know, how often does this pet need to be groomed? Some dogs need to be shaved and clipped regularly. So you know, if you have a dog that needs to go to the groomers every 6 weeks and that's not something maybe you can budget or you just don't care to deal with, then perhaps one of those breeds is not the best breed for you. So yeah, it's got also good medical information too. You know, certain breeds are prone to hip dysplasia, you know, different things that could play into you know, medical care down the road as well. So.
And I'm assuming perhaps the members of your family, whether it's small children or perhaps it's an elderly person, that probably has an impact as well, does it not?
Sure, sure. Certain breeds of dogs are better with children, and that varies, of course. There's always exceptions to every rule, but yeah, sometimes if you have young children, maybe a breed of dog that is really energetic as a puppy might not be the best type of breed to get. Again, maybe you want to look at a cat, or sometimes elderly people would prefer a more sedate pet, again, a cat or a smaller dog, or so there's a lot of different things to look at when you're deciding to add another member to your family.
Well, and I'm assuming that companion, as an example, and automatically when you said, perhaps an older person, a companion breed would be very important.
And again, sometimes, and it just really depends, so I'd say smaller dogs for an elderly person, but that's not always the case. Greyhounds are very sedentary dogs. They're very laid back. They love attention. They're a little bit bigger dog. So again, it really depends more on, again, what would fit in with your particular lifestyle. But again, cats make great companions for really everyone.
Right. It's interesting. You mentioned the greyhound. The only time I've ever been around a greyhound was actually out at your open house. Was it last year? Anyway, where you had some of the adopted greyhounds. Was that correct?
Yes. We've worked with a greyhound adoption group for it's been a little over a year now, and we help get them healthy and get them ready to be adopted out to families, and they're wonderful pets.
Oh, they are. They were wonderful. I enjoyed talking to them. I talk to dogs, but also just being around them. It's something new. So,
yeah.
We found that we've talked about determining the breed of dog, but then once that decision has been made, you have some other opportunities, and that is, okay, now that I think I know what kind of an animal I want, and I said dog, but an animal, what do I do next? So stay with us. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about the options of that.
Family Counseling Center of Missouri offers a number of therapeutic and psychiatric services at 204 Metro Drive. Our mission is to improve the quality of life for individuals, families, and communities by helping people make positive changes in their lives and empowering them to make healthy and effective choices. Our focus is building healthier lives together. Call 573-634-4591 or visit us online at info@fccmo.org. FCC is proud to be a Compass Health organization and a United Way partner agency.
Are you 55 or older and unemployed? Do you need a job? The Experience Works Senior Community Service Employment Program might be just what you need. It's available at no cost to people who meet eligibility criteria and provides paid community service opportunities as a stepping stone to employment, job assistance, computer training, and much more. Update your skills and increase your chances of finding a job. For more information, call the toll-free number on your screen or visit us at www.experienceworks.org, and don't forget to like us on Facebook.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. My guest today is Dr. Jill Brady. She is the veterinarian out at Westside Veterinarian Clinic. And Jill, we've talked about making the decision with regards to an animal. Now once that decision is made, what's next? Where should people go to find out about that pet? Or to find that pet?
To find them, yeah. Shelters are always a great place to go, especially if you don't have a particular purebred dog in mind. Although shelters a lot of times will have purebred dogs, or they'll have a lovely mixed breed dog that a lot of times you can tell what breeds are in there. So shelters are always a great option. We have the Jefferson City Animal Shelter here in town. Columbia has a Humane Society. There's one down at the lake. So there's a lot of great places to go to look for pets.
And there's a no-kill shelter, I believe, as well in Holt Summit. Is that correct?
I believe, yes.
So there are some shelter opportunities around our community.
Right, and a lot of the places to have dogs that are like for instance, the no-kill shelter that have been there for many years and are wonderful dogs, but just haven't found that owner yet. So there's a lot of great places, and I always urge people to check the shelters. There's always a pet that needs to be adopted. You can also find, if you have your heart set on a particular breed and you can't find that at the shelter, there is, of course, breeders. You can go to a breeder. And then there's also rescue groups for many breeds. If you go online, you can find rescue groups like the greyhounds that we spoke about before.
Right.
and you can get a purebred dog that, for whatever reason, needs a home. And that's a great option as well.
You know, when you mention breeder, there are some things that one should be cautious of, are there not? And I find that so hard to believe when I've heard some of these stories, but definitely there are some things to watch out for.
Yes, the thing you want to be careful about, and we hear about this a lot in Missouri, you hear about puppy mills and places like that, and I practiced in Florida for a while, and there were a lot of puppy mills there as well.
Were there really? Wow.
Yes, unfortunately, and unfortunately a lot of pet stores will get their puppies from puppy mills, but red flags that I tell clients to watch for are things like if the breeder that you're speaking with doesn't want you to come out and view their facility. Most breeders are very proud. If they're a good breeder, they're proud of their pets, and they want to show off their facility, and they want you to see the parents. And that is it's always a red flag if they say, no, I'll meet you somewhere. I'll bring the puppy to you, or sometimes too you can have them shipped to you, and I definitely don't recommend doing that because you don't know what you're getting, you don't know where they're coming from.
Right.
And a lot of people are tempted, especially if they do go to a place and they say, they tell me, oh, they came from such a horrible situation, I just had to adopt this puppy to save it. And unfortunately, all that does is it continues to allow that person to breed these dogs over and over and over again in these horrible conditions. So what you want to watch for is a breeder that wants you to come and see the parents, see where it was raised, and that they're also eager for you to take the puppy to a veterinarian afterwards, after you buy the puppy. And a lot of them will give you a guarantee. If for some reason the puppy is not healthy, they will take it back or replace it or something like that for you. So.
Well, the biggest red flag to me is the first thing you mentioned, and that is if they are not willing to show you the environment that this animal was brought into the world with, and its parents, etc. I find it sad that is the case in Missouri, and I'm sure it's not just Missouri. I don't mean to indicate that, but the fact is you must be cautious with some of these breeders.
You should. Another problem that I see that I've had clients run into is they'll go online and look for a certain breed, and they can get hooked up with like pet finders, and they will put you in contact with a breeder, and the breeder will ship you this puppy. And that's also something that I don't really think is a good idea. I know of a situation where the dog that came was not the breed that was advertised. It was probably a mixed breed, which was a great dog, but not what was paid for.
Right.
But also too, that the shipping is very hard on puppies, and a lot of these puppies haven't had their vaccinations yet, or very few. Travel is very hard on them. Sometimes they're shipped by plane. So it's not a good situation. It's usually better if you can find someone closer, again, that you can actually go and meet with.
Right.
with the.
Do you ever recommend breeders? Is that something? I mean, I'm not saying you particular, but is that something that veterinarians do from time to time?
We do sometimes, yes. If we have a particular breeder that we've worked with, or we've seen puppies come from a certain place and we've dealt with them, then sometimes, yes, we'll say, oh yeah, you're looking for this breed, we recommend this person. So yeah, we do sometimes.
Well, this probably is a good time to talk about the contact to your clinic. For any information with regards to what we talk about today, or anytime you have a question with regards to pets, you can call 573-893-7707. Well, they have a wonderful website. It's www.westsidevetjc.com, or you can check them out on their Facebook page too. I know that I mentioned to you earlier that I get a couple of emails a month that talk about some very interesting subjects that you all will send via email, and it's good information. So
yeah, we try to get good information to people. I think that's one of the things that you can get from your veterinarian is good advice. We try to really help our clients and our patients. That's what we do.
And I think it's important to mention, you know, Jill and I are friends, so we have the opportunity to talk from time to time. But there are good veterinarian groups in town and businesses in town. So feel free to, if you have questions, to contact your veterinarian. I think that's it's an important service that they provide, and it's certainly one that I've been very happy with my veterinarian. You know, we've talked about how do you determine what kind of a pet, and how do you find that pet. The next thing we're going to talk about is once that decision is made, then what's the next step? So stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm Ann Littlefield,
I'm Claudia Kehoe.
and we're here to represent the Food Bank of Central and Northeast Missouri. Over half of the Missouri students qualify for free or reduced lunches at school during the week.
But on the weekends, many children go home to empty refrigerators.
The Food Bank provides buddy packs, backpacks full of nutritious food, so over 6,600 hungry children have food on the weekends.
But the need is much greater. Will you help?
When you adopt a buddy, you reach out to a child in need. Your 50 cents a day will make a difference in a child's life.
Visit www.sharefoodbringhope.org or call the Food Bank, 573-474-1020 to adopt a buddy.
Are you overwhelmed? Homemaker Healthcare's mission is for you to maintain your independence by providing mobility, meal preparation, and personal care so you can stay safe in your home. Homemaker Healthcare is a hometown nonprofit United Way agency that has served Mid-Missouri for 40 years. From physical therapy to nursing to caregiver services, let Homemaker Healthcare take care of all your home care needs. Call 635-3900 and ask how we can assist you today. That's 635-3900. Call Homemaker Healthcare right now.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. My guest today is Dr. Jill Brady. She's a veterinarian at Westside Veterinarian Clinic out on the west side of Jefferson City. So, Jill, thanks again for joining me. You know, we've talked about how do you find a breed that's going to be a part of your family, and then once you found that, determined that breed, then how do you find the dog or the cat or the animal, and then once you've adopted that or purchased or whatever that next member of your family, what's the next step?
The first step is always to have your new member of the family checked out by a veterinarian. For instance, the animal shelter will give you a coupon for a free first exam, and most clinics here in town, I think all of them will honor that. And that way, I think you have 2 weeks to use that, and that way you can make sure that your pet is healthy, and you can get some pretty valuable information about what follow-ups you need to have for your pet. Also,
And will those vary from breed to breed? Or are they pretty standard?
It's pretty standard if it's
Okay.
a puppy and a kitten. There's not a whole lot of change. It may vary just a little bit depending on the breed. Also, most breeders will give you some sort of like a 48-hour guarantee. They give you usually a couple of days to get your pet to the veterinarian, get them checked over, and that way, if there are any problems, then you can go back to your breeder and say, well, my puppy has a heart condition. You know, what will you do? So that first exam is very important.
And I'm assuming then that also is a good opportunity to find out how you should be taking care of this animal on an ongoing basis.
Right, right. So one of the key things that you're going to learn from your veterinarian is if it is a puppy, what follow-up vaccinations does it need? Most puppies and kittens, especially ones from breeders, don't have all of their vaccinations. Even if they tell you, oh yes, they've had all their vaccinations, usually what they mean is they've had all of their vaccinations up to this age. And typically they need vaccines through 4 months of age. So it's important, because if you don't do that, then they're not protected against important diseases like parvovirus and distemper and rabies. So, that's good information you're going to get from your veterinarian.
And then I'm assuming that the medications are also important.
Sure.
Future medications.
Sure. Really both dogs and cats, you want to get them started on heartworm prevention. So that's a key thing that you would want to do, and that your veterinarian will get you started with, and cover, how often to give it, which is typically once a month,
Right.
year round. The dogs do have, there's an injectable heartworm prevention that you can start at 6 months of age. So we can get you educated on what your options are for those, and also, especially in this area, flea and tick prevention, getting them started on a good flea and tick prevention.
And we are certainly that first couple of months is so important with making those determinations. But I'm assuming things like food as well. Does it change as an animal grows?
Sure. Really, throughout an animal's life. So typically, most puppies and kittens, you're going to feed a puppy or kitten food up until about a year of age. It varies, and this is where your breed standards come in. Your larger breed dogs, you're going to feed the puppy food longer, because it takes them longer to mature, as opposed to your smaller breed dogs. Cats, they're all pretty much the same. So it's important that you are feeding them the correct food throughout the first year of their life, and then after that, depending on what breed and how fast they grow. Again, large breed dogs tend to mature more slowly, so you want to use actually even a different kind of puppy food than you would for a smaller breed dog. And then as they get older, after they're, from like 1 to 6 years of age, they may get an adult food, and then after that, a lot of times they will go into a mature dog or cat food. So that's something that your veterinarian can help you choose. And then also, there's a lot of variation these days in the types of dog and cat foods that are out there. If you go to PetSmart, and I'm overwhelmed with all the different foods that they have, and the different things they have on the labels, as far as grain-free and raw diets. And there's a lot of different types of food out there, and you have to be really careful and not trust just what's on the bag, but really read the ingredient list to see what's in there and what is a good food for your pet.
Yes, I'm amazed at the number of advertisers that will talk about a specific food as if it's the food to end all food,
right, sure.
as far as an animal's concerned. But you're right, you need to read the ingredients.
Right. I think right now there's a big grain-free craze because a lot of people are eating that way, and pets, again, that isn't such a big deal for them. Grain-free is, I think, something more on the human side that we impose on our pets. Right. But again, it's important to look at the ingredient list. The first few ingredients especially are the majority of what your pet is going to eat. So if there's anything on there that you don't understand or you're not sure about, that's where your veterinarian can really help you weed through some of that information and decide, is this really a good food for my pet or not?
What about training?
Training. And this is where a lot of your breed variations come in. So a lot of veterinarians, we can get you started on kind of the basics, and we can also steer people towards, if they're interested in puppy classes, things like that. We can talk about potty training is a big thing that we can discuss. Yeah, crate training is another big issue, which is really important for dogs. A lot of people don't feel comfortable crating their pets because they think it's cruel. But actually for dogs, a lot of dogs, it's like a den to them, and so they're very comfortable. And it's also important to teach your pet to do that as far as for travel. If you ever have to fly with them, they typically have to be crated, so you don't want it to be a big scary thing. So we can start teaching you how to teach your pet to like it, to really like to be in a crate. So things like that, again, potty training, just kind of your basic obedience training. That's stuff that we can get you all started.
I have a quick funny story about training my dog. When we got her, we put her into training for in a location for about a month. We were going to be gone, and anyway, when we came back, of course, I was excited, and she was doing so well. They showed me everything she was doing, and of course, they wanted to have a follow-up, and so, I don't know, a month later, I took her back, and the trainer said to my dog, Gretchen, your mama has undone everything that I taught you. And you know what? She was right. But Gretchen turned out okay.
Yes, she
but I
did.
think it's important to follow those tips that you're given. Obviously, I didn't, but it is important. But it brings up another subject, and that is the communications that you have, that which you just have shared with us today. It is so important for most of us because it's not something that we think about.
No, it isn't. And that's where I always love, we call them, the puppy and kitten visits, because we give a lot of information in the first couple of visits, but it's always fun because it's important. It's really important to the health and the well-being and the mental health of your pet down the road. So to me, I always feel like we're kind of setting down the groundwork and kind of laying everything out for you, and just to help people have happy and healthy pets. And I just can't say enough. It's kind of a passion for us to be able to do that. And I think a lot of times people these days tend to get information online, and it's a great resource, but we're a great resource too. And I think a lot of times we have the time and we have the abilities. Makes it a lot easier than having to search around on the web for some information.
Background knowledge as well. I think that's so important. I find myself, when I have a question, and I've brought Gretchen in, I find myself, what we talk about prompts me to think, oh yeah, but what about, it's that interaction as well. And I think that's so important, particularly for someone who is perhaps getting a new pet, and particularly since that pet is going to be a part of their family for hopefully a long time. Well, once again, it's been my pleasure to have Dr. Jill Brady here with me, and we've been talking about the steps of putting together a new member of your family, perhaps. And for more information, once again, you can call 573-893-7707, or you can log on to westsidevetjc.com, or as I said, you can check them out on Facebook. And there are a number of sources in town to find information, but I encourage you to consider all these things when you're putting together a decision for a new member of the family. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I guess again, what I would just really emphasize is we love to see the puppies and kittens, and even the adult dogs. If you adopt an adult dog, there's a lot of great information that we can get for you, and really just get out there and do some research and really enjoy.
And they're a wonderful part of our families.
Yes,
They
yes.
are. All right. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to seeing you next time. Good night, and God bless.